These girls just needed a way to invite their fathers into their lives.
So many things I've got to tell you, but I'm afraid I don't know how. 'Cause there's a possibility that you look at me differently, love. Ever since the first moment I spoke your name, from then on I knew that by you being in my life, things were destined to change. 'Cause love, so many people use your name in vain. Love, those who have faith in you sometimes go astray. Love, through all the ups and downs, the joys and hurts. Love, for better or worse, I still will choose you first. Oh, it's 'cause love, so many people use your name in vain. Love, those who have faith in you sometimes go astray. Love.
Hello, 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 hello. How is everybody doing? Dry your eyes. Dry your eyes. Be strong. We are here to get through this doc together because I cried. I cried. Welcome to this Good Old Daughters Live. Of course, I am not only streaming on my platform, but on my guest platforms backstage as well. So if you could like, share, subscribe, super chat, all that good stuff on their end too, that would be fabulous. I'm excited to see that we already have a good 25 people in here. I love that. And we gonna get started. Get the box of Kleenex and sit them next to you because, man, this was really, really emotional. I think I want to bring out a father first. I want to bring out the father on the panel first to see and hear what he thought about this doc. Dom, how you feeling?
Man, the amount of thug tears that I sent is man. This one was a roller coaster, but yeah. What's going on? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. It was many thug passion tears shed, but they were good tears because regardless of how I felt about watching it, I was really glad I watched. I feel like this is like necessary viewing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Bringing her out next because the perspective is normally sweet, and I know it was sweet and sentimental on this one. Ashley, what did you think about this doc? And muted as usual.
I'm trying to shut up because I be running my mouth. Okay. No, y'all. I went into this like, oh, this is just a documentary. I do documentaries. I watch them all the time. 20 minutes in this thing, I was sobbing. I was crying real tears. And like you, Tyra, I think everyone should watch this, and maybe not for the reason you think, but so that you can, even if it hasn't affected you directly, I think this can help us better understand people as a whole. Watching these babies' journeys, like I'm not expecting to feel all of the feels, but it's so important from the men's perspective, from the mom's perspective, from the baby's perspective. It's so important. It's so important. And I don't think until you see it in living color, you understand the full impact. It was beautifully done.
Jesus, important. That's a good word. Watch it, please. I see some people in the chat like I don't like things that make me cry. This is a necessary cry. This was a good cry. I felt for these girls and these men in this doc. Kay in the back with the books because she is reading them. There was no book for this one. So I know Kay was over there, wiping her glasses. People cry and they wear glasses. You got to clean and wipe. It's a hot mess. It's a whole hot mess. Kay, were you back there wiping those glasses when you seen this doc?
Okay, so listen, for those who don't know about me, I'm an OG, triple OG. I don't cry when I watch stuff, okay? Okay, I can take it like a G. Let me tell you something. At least 1 or 2 thug tears. Shit, at least 1 or 2. And I was like, what is this? What is this? I couldn't help but just like, if you have any kind of emotion in your body, you gonna shed at least 1 or 2 thug tears watching this, but in a good way.
Oh yeah, I can remember the last time I watched anything and cried. I absolutely did not expect. I was like, oh my god, I'm so emotional. I'm so emotional and so invested in these babies. Last but not least, the movie man is in the back. I would love to know how he felt about this doc as well.
Hey, everybody. Yes, so this is actually with the premiere on Netflix. This is actually my second time watching this, and I know we'll get more into that. And I wondered like what it would be like watching it for a second time. And I figured I've had the experience, so I'm not going to, surely it's not going to pull all these emotions out of me again. And I was absolutely 100% wrong. So I am just, but I also will say that emotion for me is very specific, and it usually comes from it comes from a certain place. Like if you get me to cry, like there are certain nuances and just kind of depth to the emotion that causes it to come out. So yeah, and I'm excited to talk about that piece as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was like, oh, I cried already. Let me try to piece my things together for this live in my images. Cried again. He caught me slipping again, just trying to get still shots. It's that impactful. I really, really enjoyed this doc. But for those of you who haven't seen it, of course, y'all know I'm going to try to give y'all a good visual. Before we get into the daughters, we meet a lot of daughters here, but we do mainly focus on 4. And here's a couple of them just so you can get familiar. Let's see.
My cousin taught me my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 timetables. I'm the smartest one in my class. I wish my dad was home already.
Next time you go back in jail, you're not going to even share one single tear. And when my dad was home, she was so nice and stuff. My dad not around, so I'm the dad.
Everything was important to him except for Jayana. Why do you want to bond with her while you're incarcerated?
I don't even remember his face. I don't remember nothing about my father.
When I talk to him, tell him about my day, and I remember he's not here. He should give us more time on the phone, 15 minutes, when he's going to be in there for how long.
She's academically challenged because she struggles on focusing. She went on the rooftop and she was thinking about jumping off.
Oh Lord, okay, we got to take it off immediately. Lord, please. Oh, daughters definitely had its foot all up and through my neck, but I just wanted y'all to maybe get a little familiar with the girls before we dive into them. But oh Lord. Before we dive into those girls anymore, take a little break, a little clutch my pearls to get into the director and the executive producer. This is directed by Natalie Ray and executively produced by Kerry Washington and Miss Angela Patton. She's co-directing, she's the creator, she's an activist, and she's an advocate for young girls. This is definitely a labor of love for her, and you could tell that this was her baby. If you have seen this doc, Miss Angela is the female in the lead when the inmates are giving counsel, who is put all these things into place and always advocating for this program to happen, and also kind of corresponding between the mothers and the dash just to make sure this is a positive thing that she is trying to do. She is the creator of this situation, and I loved everything about this, and I loved her. Ashley, anything for Miss Angela or Miss Kerry, jumping on so we can get that Netflix cosign?
Listen, I feel like if Kerry put a name on it, it's gonna be a little something special most of the time. 98.2% of the time, we're gonna see what happens with Tyler in the future. But as far as this was a love letter. It was so sincere, and it was so honest, and it was so raw. And shout out to Ms. Angela Patton out here doing the Lord's work with these babies, with their mamas. like even watching her empowerment sessions with these babies, telling them who they are and who they can show up as in the world was so heartwarming. And to know that this is her work and it was based on what a great relationship she had with her father, and seeing how there's such a disparity in Black and brown spaces with fathers being absent. I love this. This is pioneering, and this is truly the Lord's work in my mind. Shout out to her. Kudos to her for embarking up on such a beautiful movement is what I'll call it.
Oh, absolutely. I think what I found joy in the most here, outside of those girls, especially Aubrey Child, because baby, we got to get into Aubrey, was to watch Angela here and mentor life coach Chad pour into those inmates. It was giving me everything I never knew I needed. Dumb.
This is such. I give her so much props and commend her so much, and Kerry Washington too. There's a special place in heaven for people who go out of their way and dedicate years of their life just for the benefit of other people. And I feel like the work they're doing is generationally beneficial. I feel like this is going to, like we talk about in the community, breaking generational curses and changing the direction of paths. And I feel like this is a very big shift in the right direction for a lot of people.
Okay.
I think that it was noble to be brave enough to do something like this, to not only have this program in place, but to put it on display for the world, to put that emotion in front of people as a teachable moment, as a lesson to people who may be going through it, to have some commonality, and as a warning before people end up in this type of situation.
D.
So much love, so much appreciation, so much like all the things for Angela Patton. And I wanted to say that I saw this at Sundance, and so there's a point, of course, that they do the Q&A and they bring out the director. So it was her, it was Natalie Ray. At this point, I think Kerry Washington got on board after the fact, if I'm not mistaken, because they go through the whole distribution process. But so she wasn't there, but she had made it a point to say that when it came about the process of doing this and it coming together and all that, she, and collaborating with Natalie as well, she was like, look, this is a great thing to do this and highlight this, but I am going to protect my community always. So we have to be very mindful about how we do this. I'm not, we're not half-stepping. We're not going to exploit. We're not like, look, like she made it very clear, and she was even crying as she said it. She was like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. And I often will say myself, as someone who struggles, and what didn't want to see this, and it was kind of a fluke, and I'll explain why later, why I ended up seeing this, but I get very scared when it comes to stories or Black stories that are centered around certain things that would be deemed struggle or traumatic or any of those things. And for me, it comes down to what you're really saying, what the catharsis is. And for me, I just felt like this was about exploration, not exploitation. And I feel like if our stories, if that's at the core of it, even when it does deal with things that are uncomfortable and not the best, then that's where we find the humanity in it. And that's how I felt about this.
Absolutely. I like how modestly this was shot, and you could tell certain angles were used to, especially with the girls, to give them a sense of privacy in their space. We weren't looking, all up and through their homes. And even the fact that we didn't know what any of these inmates did, what they were in there for. They were really, really just humanized, and you just saw them as fathers and people. I was like, oh, this is nice. This is absolutely nice. Thank you so much, Miss Angela, and continue all your work that you are doing with this program. It's everything. Let's get into Aubrey. Let's get into little Aubrey. How many certificates do I need to have until my daddy comes home? 7 years is a long time. I put intelligent, energetic, thoughtful, and adorable. Oh. We spent a lot of time with little Aubrey in this doc, and you instantly feel so connected to her. I love how in depth we go with her as a little girl, her purpose, and you just right off the back see above anything else, she loves her daddy. She loves her daddy, and she is counting the minutes, days, hours until her dad comes home. But until then, what he told me to do is do well in school, get those certificates, be my best self. I'm going to continue to do that. But it feels like she's internalized it as, if I just, do the most, maybe y'all let him out for good behavior, because I'm behaving so well, which I absolutely love. But Aubrey really touched my heart, and we'll get into, I just want to kind of focus on the girls now in their state now, and then kind of transition into how they are once we link up with them 3 years later. But this definitely left an impact on me to feel hit in my throat when we see Aubrey from 5 and when she's 8.
Yeah.
D, tell me about Aubrey D.
I kind of, there are a lot of, I didn't know what to make of this at first still, but as soon as I saw Aubrey and I started to listen, I was kind of like, I don't know what else I'm going to get from this film, but I already feel like I made the right decision just from watching her. There was just something, and I don't know, it's just one of those things that reminds me, because obviously, I don't have children, and I don't interact with children on a day-to-day basis, but it just kind of reminds me of, in some ways, it reminds me of what it was like to be a child when I was one, and then what it's like to just understand the pure, innocent hearts of children and how they see the world. In some ways, the things they don't understand about the world, but how they truly believe, and they have hope, and they believe in change and the things that they can do to impact the world. And I think that was the most beautiful thing, in addition to her just kind of being funny and quirky and cute, of course, but it was just her not only being intelligent and having, this drive, but also just believing like, hey, like I can do these things and I can make an impact in this world if I just keep going, and I can change things, even if it's just for my father and who knows beyond.
It's gonna be okay, Aubrey. Kay, did you see your baby in this? Because I definitely saw my babies in Aubrey.
Absolutely, 100%.
I know my timetables.
100%. Super smart, energetic, and very, very talkative. It was almost like watching my child on a Netflix documentary. I was just like, if this ain't Trinity, I don't know who is. And that's that. I guess that's why it hit me so hard, because of her relationship with her dad. It was just like, I felt for her, because I'm just like, my daughter and my husband, they're like this.
Mm-hmm.
They're stuck together, and for her to be that close with her dad and not be able to touch him all the time, and for him to not be there, it's really heartbreaking.
Yeah. Dom, did you see your babies?
Man, my little baby's 7. And so I was watching Aubrey when Aubrey popped up on the screen, and as soon as she started talking, that was the first of many times I was about to turn this off. I was about to turn this documentary off, because I was like, I don't need to go through this. I need to go hug my baby. And and it's like it's like how Dee said, in the sense that I tend to stay away from, or I'm very judicious about what type of stories like this that I watch or I engage in, especially because I don't think that every project that showcases our struggle is necessarily for us. Mm-hmm. Like Ava DuVernay's 13, or 13. I was like, I don't need to see that. I know. I know. That's for the people who don't know. I know. And so I was like, but so stuff like that. But I'm glad that I finished it. But watching Aubrey and how intelligent she is, and it showcased, it just kind of like really showcased how I think sometimes we get into this thing with kids where we focus on what we tell them and what we're intending to show them, and we think that that's all that they're ingesting. But Aubrey and the other young girls too, but kind of highlighted how what you're not intending to show them, or what you're not directly tell them, it still has an effect, and they still are able to draw certain connections between observing what's around them. And the connection she was drawing and the awareness she had of her own situation was impressive for such a young lady, but also incredibly sad, because you shouldn't have to deal with certain stuff like that. And so Aubrey was my touchstone through the whole thing, because I was like, every time we checked on somebody else, I was like, but how Aubrey doing? How the baby doing?
Oh Lord. Yeah, when she hit that, like I'm about to tell my daddy all the time, I love him. No, I love you more, and I'm always be here for you and have your back. I was like, oh, Aubrey, that ain't even your job. Ashley.
Oh, the weight on baby girl's shoulders. I adored Aubrey first and foremost. She was just, you think you want to have a baby. You're like, I want my little girl to be like Aubrey. Like she is a go-getter. She is bright. She is full of love, joy, affection, hope, all of the things. And so immediately you fall for her. But as soon as you meet her, it turns into this thing of if I do this, then there's a if then with her, right? And everything is based on her performance. Well, if I do great in school, if I fill up every wall in the house with certificates, that means daddy's going to come home. And as we watch her journey and it evolve, it becomes heartbreaking almost, right? But shout out to Aubrey's mama. She is raising a beautiful young lady. Again, I adored her. You guys covered all of the main things, but her sheer will and determination at 7, she's like, oh, I'm going to excel. I'm going to do it. And you're going to come home at 7 years, right? No, well, maybe. No, 7. 7. This baby knew her own mind. Absolutely adored her.
It's going to be 7. Yeah, that you told me 7. So it's going to be, I don't want to hear nothing other than 7. I regret whatever phone call that was when he told her it wasn't 7, child. Oh, Santana. Santana is tired and she's been here before. I never want to be a mother if this is what it means. Santana is a dancer. There's this maturity. There's also some anger, and she's very, very tough. Now, baby, y'all give Santana a break, okay? She need a vacation. She need a pension. She need a pina colada at this point. I saw a little of myself in Santana, and I saw a little of so many other young Black girls in Santana. She is very, very mature for 10, but you can tell that she's forced into that because of the circumstances, and she's hard on herself because she is angry. She's mad. She's mad. Santana is mad, and I can't be mad at her for it. She has every right to be, but I was like at 10 when she hits that, my dad's in jail. I'm the dad, and you could tell that all of these young babies, they are under the age of 1, and it just seems like dad gets out just long enough to have a new baby and go back. It's like, no, no, but I just really felt for Santana in the circumstances. I was happy that she did have an outlet for dancing, and that was something that she could do, because I was like, oh, this baby don't have nothing, because you could tell her mother is more of a younger mother, and they kind of have more of a friendship dynamic going on, and you could just tell that we know what this is. I've seen this. I've seen this, and we know exactly what this is, and we know exactly what Santana's circumstances are as long as her dad is in jail. But for her to feel like you keep messing up to the point that I'm not going to care and I'm not going to shed a tear. When we met Santana in the front seat of that car, I was like, baby, if you don't, if she don't have much longer, you don't have another chance with Santana to, I'm gonna mess up and I'm gonna go back. Like, this is it. She is already at her breaking point at 10. If you lose her and lose that relationship with her now, you are probably not going to get it back. Ashley?
I adored Santana. I adored Santana because Santana was relatable. I've met Santana. I've probably been Santana in some moments where you reach a point of obstinacy based on what you're seeing around you. And it's like all of the people who are in my life that are supposed to be my examples and, raising me are not. I'm having to raise myself, baby. When she said, this is affecting me, like, y'all don't see, like, get that baby in therapy, get her some help. And it's like, all of these people who are supposed to have emotional intelligence and be mature and be, seeing what's going on with her. She's like, I'm screaming it from the rooftops. Like, I'm hurting. Like, oh my goodness. I felt for Santana. I adored her. And still knowing that even with all of that, even with the bravado and the anger, and I've made up my mind, child, I don't want no kids. I'm raising your kids. I don't want any more. I don't want any of this. How soft her heart still was when we get to a certain point. It's like, that's just people. Like, it's so humanizing in that this is how we can be, right? We build this exterior to protect ourselves. But when someone does the right thing for that one time, we'll open our hearts back up. You know what I mean? I felt for Santana. I cried with and for this baby.
Dumb.
Man, this is somebody get Santana a drink. Santana, yeah, she earned that. Well, I definitely, like Ashley said, I definitely felt for her. I definitely identified with her because you get to a certain age, and to me, that's always heartbreaking when children get to a certain age where they're like accurately understanding adult dynamics, and it's because they've been done so wrong. It's like a lot of times children get upset or they get mad at stuff, and you're like, well, you don't understand the full context, or you don't have a real understanding of what's going on. So from your perspective, it's frustrating, but it's just not really what the situation is. Santana's has a very good picture of what's going on, and she has a very clear understanding of what's going on, and very justified. And that to me is all the more heartbreaking because it's not a misunderstanding. It's not, oh, you don't understand adult things. You just are in a bad position, and unfortunately, you're fully aware of it. And I've been Santana is the one I identify with the most because when you look at somebody who's supposed to be taking care of you continually dropping the ball, you're like, well, if you're not going to do it, I got to do it. And I appreciate the moment that comes later where it's like you get to see that there's still time for folks to get their act together, because I'm not like somebody else on the panel. I don't have a whole bunch of degrees about healing. I believe in too late. I believe I believe it's a certain point where, all right, now you over with. And so to see that Santana hadn't reached it, when we first meet her, it felt like she hit that point, like, all right, it's over with for the baby. But to see what's underneath and there's just the raw emotion of it, I think was part of one of the more important things about this documentary. One of the things that this documentary did well in showcasing, like, as bad as it seems, you still got to try. You still got to show up, because it's not too late until it's too late. So you still got to put in the effort.
Degrees.
Listen, Heavy is the head of the oldest child because you're expected to be the responsible one. You're expected to be able to babysit, cook, clean, answer the phone. If somebody's sick, you got to take care of everybody else. You got to be the responsible one. You have to get the good grades in school. You have to make sure you have good communication skills. You have to stay out of trouble because your parents are already dealing with other stuff, and the youngest siblings is probably wilding out. And she's dealing with all of that, and with the situation that she's in is what breeds perfectionists. Because she's looking at this situation like, I don't have room to mess up. No. Because dad's already messing up. Mom is stressed. The baby can't fend for itself. So if I mess up, what's going to happen to the whole family at this point? And they put her in a position to give her symptoms of perfectionism, because she's like, I can't mess up because I know what it looks like. And if they're actually counting on me to be the strong person in this situation right now. And that's too much to put on a child.
Oh, Kay, the way they put the strong black woman trope on his 10-year-old.
On a child.
I just can't. I can't. D.
Listen, Santana may not be anyone's lover or secretary, but she still says she's not going to cry. Okay. Not going to shed no tears.
She working every week, though. She working every day of the week. I know that.
Yeah, I think that was and again, you know, as progressing through me watching this, it's like, oh, okay, we're getting somewhere with this. And just what I definitely understood Santana. I won't say my experience obviously was exactly the same for obvious reasons, but that sense of, I don't know, like how circumstances shape your worldview at a very young age. I do understand that. And it just reminds me of when people say, like, children are resilient, you know, children are resilient. But the thing is, they shouldn't have to be. There shouldn't be circumstances in place where children feel like they have to be resilient. They have to be they have to be their own hero, their own champion, their own all these things. And I could feel and even just the mask putting that up to, to disguise the hurt, disguise the pain. And then I also understood it because it's like, look, not just the emotion and the tears, but it's like, you don't care. You keep doing this and it's affecting me. And I love her self-awareness and maturity in that sense. But she's like, look, I see the issues with my mother. I see the issues with you. I see, you don't obviously care about how this affects me at all. So it's just like, why would I continue to pour out and have these emotions? Nothing changes. And this continues on from here. So I definitely just appreciated that. And there's a level of transparency with all of them, but with Santana, I found that it just hit something a little different for me. So
yeah, I know Santana, child. I'm the oldest single mom, 3 kids. I know a Santana. These are the women that go out into the world and you're questioning, why are you the way that you are? Why are you so mad all the time? Why you can't ever, be vulnerable? Why can't? And it's just like, it starts here. And I was like, somebody better do something. Somebody better do something right now. I want to walk away from this doc with, having done something for every single one of these girls, especially Santana. Now we got Jayana. She's never met her father and is unsure about the interaction. She's very doubtful. She's a mama's girl. She's cold and she's distant. Naturally so. I don't know that man. I don't know that man. What I found that was funny with Jayana, she's never met her father, but they kind of have the same demeanor a little bit. Like some of the same mannerisms, like some of the same facial expressions. I was like, this is hilarious. I thought that was funny, but I was here for her having those walls up as a young lady. Like, I have to make sure that I'm guarded, and pretty much from start to finish, you have to work for my relationship. You have to work for, all of this. You have to, start from ground up. This isn't just going to be some magical moment where everything's going to be all right because you're my dad. And which we'll get into, because I do have a slide just for the moms, because I wanted to ask a question. You can also see that Jayana is one of the girls who has formed her opinion about her father via her mother and their experience together. So, yeah. Okay.
I mean, you can't blame her. You can't blame her for feeling this way. And it's not her. It's not even up to her to try to forge this relationship. They let her down. She the one that was failed in this moment. And when you see this personality starting to form within your child, it is up to the parents to say she may need therapy to work through this, because I don't want her to go through her whole life with resentment. I don't want her to be closed off. I don't want her to be mad at the world. And I still want her to know that even though this one person may have let you down, you still have other people that care about you. You still can feel loved. You can be supported and you can still thrive. But oftentimes nobody's thinking about that part. Yeah. They're just like, well, he's this, forgive him and he's coming out soon. And you just got to do that. Excusing the behavior of the absent parent instead of pouring into the child.
Yeah. I ain't getting emotional on this panel. I'd have cried this morning putting these things together. Ashley.
Child, I mean, okay, so here's the thing, right? And some of y'all may know this, this, Tyra, and Kay knows this, but like Jayana, right? I can put myself in her shoes completely, because who is that man? I don't know to this day. I don't know who my biological father is, right? So I can only imagine being a child and being like, okay, this is your dad. He's incarcerated. I want you to go to this program and sit in his face and like, ooh, daddy daughter dance. I'd be looking at this man upside his head too, like she was. Like, who is this man? So I get it. And although it is a defense mechanism, I mean, guard your heart above all things. I say do it. And she says it later on. Listen, he's gonna have to show me. Like, you're gonna have to show me who you are, because I've already been let down up to this point. Like, these babies are getting into their preteens and teens, like, no. Now, and of course, I know you said we'll dive into it, but yeah, taking on, I think parents have to be mindful about the conversations they have with their children and around their children regarding the other parent, because that definitely shapes us. But in her instance, I can relate to that, honey, because who are you? Let me see who you are first. Are you weird? Like, do I even want you in my life? Like, let me watch and observe and listen and see if you show up like you say you will.
Yeah, most definitely. Mama was definitely giving, we don't need that man. We got each other. That's what Mama was giving. And just like you, Ashley, never seen my father, don't know who that man is, wouldn't know him if I walked down the street. So I related to all these girls on many levels. Dom?
This was, to me, this was, I know we're going to talk about the moms later, but this to me was the most understanding parental situation. Not excusing the mom, but I think I understood it the most, because
Yeah.
a lot of times when you got a parent or somebody who isn't there, out of sight, out of mind, especially if you don't have any positive association with them to begin with, it's just easier to put them to the side. And I'm here dealing with the day to day. I'm here dealing with the everyday. I'm here with the cries. I'm here with the happies. I'm here with every emotion. And so not only do we not need this person, but it does no benefit to bring them into any type of situation, especially like the mom said, where it was like, I feel like this was only important to you after you got put away. And so now I feel like you're trying to have some type of connection to the inside. So you have to be in a situation where I have to protect my daughter and decide what's best for her. And I'm not sure that you're it. And trying to make that determination while and make the best thing for your daughter is not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to do. And yeah, it's also not an easy thing to do, like Ashley said, about being about what you say around your child and to your child. I give my mom a lot of props, because the whole time I was coming up, she never said anything bad about my dad around me. I never heard her say a bad word about a man she could not stand. And so, and when I wanted to go see that man, she was like, "Look, that's your dad. If you want to go see him, you go see him." And then when I got to the point where I could make the determination myself, where I was like, you know what, I don't think he it. I don't want to deal with him no more. She was like, "Look, let me tell you, now that you grown and you made that decision, I've been waiting for you to make that decision." So but I appreciate that, because to me, it sets harder, because I didn't grow up hearing a whole bunch of negative stuff about my dad. It was just through all my own experiences. But I think that's hard. I mean, I think that's difficult, because you in this position where I'm supposed to protect this person. So you are harmful, so I'm protecting you from harm. I think it's hard to get over that, or put your personal feelings aside and let somebody, because you do need your father and you do need that influence. And regardless of what happens or how it happens, I think you need to experience that relationship yourself and make that determination yourself. I think it sets a little bit more in your soul and in your spirit when you go through that yourself, instead of hearing it secondhand.
Yeah.
So I empathize with the mother, I think the most, because I just know that's a difficult position to be
in. Yeah. D?
Well, I mean, I think, Kiki said it best. I hate to say it. I hope I don't sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is. I mean, he could be walking down the street and I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man. That's where Gianna is, and I totally get it. I mean, the thing is, and I think it, to me, she was at the biggest disadvantage, because at least with the other girls, they had something to attach themselves to, something to kind of hope for or remember or cling to. Like, there's something. But when you don't have anything, you don't even remember what this man looks like. It's just like, well, what am I supposed to be? Where's the connection? Where's the, like, what do you feel? There's nothing to feel. So it just kind of creates this weird emotional void. And I definitely empathize with her in that sense, because it's just like, I don't even know how I'm supposed to, like, how am I even supposed to act? Like, how do you deal with this? And I definitely understood her mother, despite the complications. It's kind of one of those things where it's a catch-22. It's just like, it's like, no, it's in theory, it's not good to reinforce some of these things, but then it's like, but then how did this begin? How did this start? Like, it's just, and it's just like, and it just continues this unfortunate cycle that trickles down to the child. And then how do they make sense of even what a healthy dynamic should be, if in their own family they have no idea what that looks like and what that means.
Oh, my sentiments exactly.
Mm.
And lastly, we have Rosiah. This just doesn't feel like a home anymore. Zaya is hurting. She's scared. She's longing, and she is stifled. Oh, Rosiah is our oldest girl of the bunch at 15, and to see that she has been emotionally and mentally stunted by this situation, and to see it affect her so heavily to where she doesn't feel whole enough as a young lady that she would even consider taking herself out of this world. Oh, I wasn't ready for this one. I wasn't ready for this one, and I was just really feeling for her because she is really desperate for that connection with her father, and it's like she is struggling to go on or just move forward as a young lady, and I was really concerned for her. Okay.
Yeah, this is I'm glad I didn't have to feel these feelings and to go through that. And I'm glad that like I don't know life without my dad being there, but I know this is something that can happen, and I'm glad that my dad has not only been there for us, but my dad has helped raise grandchildren as well. For when their fathers were not present, they had my dad to go to. When this happened because of their own father, at least they had my dad around. And it's like when these girls are going through that, where is the male substitute at? When she's scared, when she's hurting, when she's longing for something, where's the uncle? Where's granddad? Where's cousin? Where's brother? Where are these other men that can step up and be that support system in place of that, so that she wouldn't have to feel, because mom can only do so much because mom is also hurting because she has to be there. Where is the support for these girls?
I what I did like about this situation, because you hear so much, especially from single mothers, I'm the mama and I'm the daddy. I'm a whole lot of things, and I'm a great mom. I could never be a father though. I think people
Exactly.
underestimate how important that presence of a father is, and how less it could go when it's lacking. And Rosiah is definitely it going horribly wrong. D.
Yeah, I found that again, just with these nuances and the different dynamics we get from these young girls, I felt like with Rosiah, it was kind of the opposite. We have, kind of hope. We have this sense, then we have the sense of obstinacy and, kind of stubbornness, being closed off. And then we have complete, utter vulnerability and, emotional outpouring. It's just like, this is not, this is just not what life is supposed to be. And she recognizes the damage that is taking on her, the toll that it's taking on her. And I don't think anyone ever thinks that they'll and there's a whole other conversation we had about mental health and how that works. But I don't think anyone ever thinks they'll just get to the point where it's just like, oh, I don't want to be in this world anymore. But I think it has to do I think you have to it's something in the mind, and it has something to do with how you see the value of your life. And if that value is not reinforced by love, support, emotional support, a sense of strength, a sense of stability, then it's just like, if something is not grounding you in this world, is not grounding you in this earth, then it's just like, well, why should I be here? And so I understood it. It was devastating to hear it, but it's just like, it makes it all the more important that she continues to have a reason to fight, to continue to go forward. And sometimes some people just don't have that. And that can sometimes be, or even if they want to have that, circumstances keep them from having it. And that definitely tipped this. I mean, it was already a serious subject, but that it went even deeper, because it's like, this is really how deep this can go and how far, and the far-reaching consequences that this can have.
Oh, Lord D, you gonna make me go to commercial break. Dumb.
Look, y'all not gonna get me choked up on this live in front of all these folks. I think because jumping off of what Dee said, I think that is immensely important, and I think that when you're raising somebody, or when you just have a loved one in general, I think we get into a point where we never consider that it's going to touch us. I think when we talk about our loved ones and the people we're in charge of, I think too often we don't consider that could ever be us or the people we care about. And a lot of times we don't realize it until it's too late and something's already happened. And I feel like the day-to-day stuff, the checking in, the support group, all of that stuff is cumulative, and all that stuff builds up, and you need a consistent amount of that. And I thought that Rosiah was a good representation of the progression of these feelings of the situation that these girls are in, because you start off with just the purest of Aubrey. Mm-hmm. And then as you go through each of these girls through these different stages and age groups, you get to a point where stuff starts to be permanent, stuff starts to stick, and it gets harder to move past it or disregard it because it's been built up for so long. And when Rosiah came on screen, like when Aubrey came on screen, my heart melted because it reminded me so much of my daughter. But when Rosiah came on screen, I never wanted to adopt a child before until I saw her. Like, I was like, just come on over here. It's love over here. We got you. That's how I felt with this baby. And it hurt so much to see what she has to go through and what she's been through, and then to see her mother, because I don't think that any of these families are bad families. I don't think any of these families are necessarily I think they're doing the best they can. And to see Rosiah's mother talk about it, it was just heartbreaking. And I just like, somebody get them some help. I just want everybody to get some help.
Ashley, muted as usual.
I'm sorry, y'all. Listen, I'm trying to hold it together. Rosiah, this broke me down like a fraction. When I saw Mama, just like Dom said, it was over. Like, if I wasn't toe up before then, I was toe up then. But it's so interesting the way that they really curated this documentary and the families that we're getting to watch, because we're seeing the fatherhood on a spectrum as well, right? You can really tell that when Rosiah daddy was out, they was like this. He was actively involved in her life. He was not only raising her, we discover he was raising one of his nieces as well. And I hope it comes across as cautionary to fathers out here who might be engaging in some activities they shouldn't be, because this could be the aftermath, right? When you leave these babies and you've been active a part of their lives, your loss is felt. Like, you are absolutely needed. And just to piggyback on Kay's point, I honestly wish there were more spaces that were safe. Unfortunately, we don't have the safety in that, right? To have a lot of different, I understand a mother's view of not having a lot of men around their girls because they just don't know, even uncles, even family members sometimes. But I wish there was a safe place where people could be vetted and be able to be consistent in these babies' lives. But I adored Rosiah. I loved watching her journey. But yeah, I'm with Dom, babe. Get some people to come in and try to help, because Mama was doing the best she could. She really was.
I just wanted to hug her. Thank you so much. A Night of Horror. I'm about to say King Nikki TV. Thank you so much for the $2. I can't watch stuff like this, but big up to y'all. It's worth the watch, Nikki. It really, really is. If you do want to consider watching it. Thank you so much for the super chat. Y'all go check out A Night in Horror's channel. It's everything. Thank you. And we got another one here from C the Superior. Thank you so much for the $1.99. Thank you so much, C. let's get into this, because this is something I wasn't expecting them to shine any light on. Because baby, I don't know two things about anybody's prison system, and I don't want to. But I always have to kindly be reminded that prison is it's a business. Prison is very much so a business, and it made me think about D, because I know we talked about it. D was like, yeah, the movies lied. The movies lied to us. TV lied to us as far as the perception of, as long as you're doing what you need to do in jail, you're not, an aggravated, type of prisoner. You're not locked in the hole or something. I don't know. You don't laugh at me, Ash. I don't know the terms. It's not a 24-hour maximum situation. Like, as long as you're out in your behavior as well, you get visitation. There's still phone calls where you are, the glasses in between, and you can at least see your babies. Or it's a if Bell Street could talk situation, and we sitting across from each other, sharing snacks. I literally thought that those were your options in jail. And of course, there's those phone calls in writing. But since 2014, it's some no touch visitation. I did not know that. Not only are we getting into no touch visitation, but of course things like phone calls are paid. They have this new thing, video phone calls. Those are paid. And then we're also dealing with these prisoners being at risk of being relocated a couple of states over from where their family is actually living. I was not expecting this, and it made it hit even harder that this would probably be the only time that they could actually hug and touch their daughters. D?
I would say this was probably the most I feel like whenever I say something shocking, it's almost like I have to follow it, but I'm not shocked at the same time, because it's like it's shocking on the surface, but then if you think about it, I'm like, oh, well, no, that makes perfect sense, and this is the way. Especially like on a systemic level, it's like, of course. But and I wasn't expecting that to be highlighted, or at least I don't know. I thought it was going to be more focused on just the daughters, the inmates, all that, but then it made sense, and it understood like how much of a far-reaching issue this is beyond just the circumstances of them being in jail and being in prison, but also like who like who higher ups, behind the scenes, whatever you want to call it, like what are they doing to further create this division, to further create the separation, to further create these complications and having all these hoops that these people have to jump through just to have a sense of connection. And it's just like you continue to erode and undermine any potential progress, any potential growth. And then and of course it made perfect sense how that tied into everything else. But that really, like I said, shocked me in a way, didn't shock me in a way, but just understanding just how specific the business in that sense is, I thought that was wild.
For me, it was like, let's keep these prisoners as down and agitated as possible, so maybe you can be a repeat offender via inside this jail. You committed a crime and you're getting more time, or you're more consistent with coming back. You already felt hopeless in here for however much time you had. You couldn't touch anybody. What? You couldn't hug nobody? Ashley?
Child, I said love after lockup deceived me. The way they be doing conjugals and the ladies be visiting every weekend and hugging on them and loving on these incarcerated men. Prison reform is needed. Absolutely. Because there's no way they can have cameras. Y'all can go in there. These women can have conjugal visits, and these fathers can't see their babies. Prison reform is needed. But again, with the privatization of prison, and everything being monetized, right, in terms of what they can access, who they can access, how they can access it, it's definitely going to cause an uproar, right? I mean, you already have people who are locked up for crimes, and then you say, I'm going to limit all the connections that you had on the outside, and now you're already in a box, but now you're really in a box and almost up in a corner. it's asking for trouble, in my opinion, and it's inhumane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just so unfeeling. There's got to be another way, but it's big money, big money in it.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, who would put something like this in place? Like, a lot of people go to jail for different reasons. Not everybody here is a violent, highly whatever offender. Not everybody here is, you know, in the maximum. Like, I want to hug my children. You know how many times in a day I hug my children? Dumb.
No, TV definitely lied to me, and I'm mad because I watch, and we all know it's fiction, but it's just the sheer amount of mob shows, of crime shows, of shows that depict something in prison has told me for more than 10 years. 2014 is crazy. So for over 10 years, I've watched stuff where it's been like, yeah, unless you do something crazy in jail and go to solitary confinement, or unless you're in the maximum security prison.
Yeah, I said the whole.
Yeah. But unless you do something crazy like that, you get to at least be in the same room as somebody visiting you. That's so the idea that hundreds of prisons don't let you be in the same room as somebody, as a free person, as somebody that's not an inmate, is crazy. And it definitely is something that aids the recidivism rate, because when all you see day in, day out is this prison and these rules and this type of lifestyle, that the moment now when you do get released or you get free, it feels foreign to you. It doesn't feel natural. And now when everybody feels weird, we go back to what's comfortable. But now you've made this weird condition comfortable. You've made it familiar. So that's what I'm gonna go back to. And so that to me is there were only two like purely shocking parts of this documentary. Like everything was heartfelt and important, but there were two shocking things, and there was the statistic at the end, and there was this, because this was crazy to me, and this was the part that made me the most angry. Because first I was like, oh, I'm already not going to jail. But I'm definitely not going to jail. I don't like driving by it now, because y'all won't get me, because I'm gonna see my baby. I swear to God, I'm gonna see my baby.
Okay.
I'm gonna swing it back around to something Dom said earlier about Ava DuVernay's documentary, The 13th, because although you would think everybody knows Dom, they don't. I guarantee you, if you told a lot of these people that once you go to jail, your rights as a human has been suspended and that slavery can be enacted. Slavery is only abolished if you are free. By law, you can be considered a slave if you are incarcerated, because your freedom has been stripped of you. So if we take that concept, of course, this is what they're going to do in these prisons, because you are no longer considered a free human. So they can treat you any way they want to treat you. And what did they do to people during slavery in the first place? They stripped you of your humanity. They wanted you to feel less than. They wanted you to not even feel like a real person, so that you can have the mentality of being in bondage. And that's exactly what's going on. And I guarantee you, if we told more of these young people, especially these young Black men, that you think it's all fun and games now, but do you like slavery?
Kay said, act up if you want.
Make it plain. Yeah, you gotta make it plain.
Yep.
We gonna handle that ass. On that note, before we get into these prisoners, we currently have 50 people here in this live, and we really, really appreciate that. It would be great if all 50 of you could hit that like button. Let me show y'all some love for that, as well as those super chats, and we will be right back.
Hail Mary, your marijuana times is hard. Pray with the hooligan, shadows all in the dark. Fellowship with demons and relatives, I'm a star. Life is one funny. A true comedian, you gotta love him, you gotta trust him. I might be bugging, infomercials and no sleep. Introverted by my thoughts, shows you listen, it gets deep. See, once upon a time inside the niggas and garden projects, the object was the process and digest poverty's dialect. Adaptation inevitable, gun violence, crack spot, federal policies, rape buildings and drug professionals. Anthony was the oldest of 7, well respected, calm and collected. Laughing and joking made life easier. Hard times, mama on crack. A 4-year-old telling his nanny he needed in banking. He was meant to be dangerous. Clacked him a grip and start slanging. 15 scraping up his jeans with quarter pieces. Even got some air from a smoker last weekend. Dodger policeman working for his brick on me. Small time hustler graduated to a brick on him. $10,000 out of for project housing. That's on the daily. Seen his first meal.
Yeah, shout out to all the daddies out there. We need y'all. We need y'all. If you didn't know, watch this doc and you'll see just how necessary that they are. We are getting into these fathers: Keith, Frank, Alonzo, and Mark. We meet many, but these are the main ones that we focus on. When it came to Keith, I wanted to know what Keith did so bad. I wanted to know, because you see so much presence and potential in Keith as a person, dad, probably as a partner, because that woman, baby, she was devoted. We going to see him. I don't care where you go. I'm crossing states. I'm going to make sure that your presence is felt with our daughter. I'm going to reiterate, this is the setting, the whatever. I'm going to do that as well as, do my part as a mom. It was giving lady in waiting. I ain't mad at her. I was like, man, where did you go astray, Keith? Because his connection with his daughter says a lot about who he is as a person and as a dad. So it just goes to show that you can make one bad decision or have a misstep and end up in there, and that connection can be severed so quickly. But man, I would give us free. I wanted Keith to be free immediately. Immediately. Frank over here. Ciao. Frank was giving me, because you could tell, in which I'm sure you guys can elaborate on also. A lot of things here are generational. A lot of these men here are from the product of a household where somebody was in prison and they keep becoming repeat offenders themselves. So we gonna mute that. Keep becoming offenders themselves. So it just said a whole lot. But for me and Frank, in the relationship he was trying to have with Jayana, it was giving me, those dudes who get locked up and you start contemplating your life, and then you realize what's important, and then you want that connection. And for the mom, it may just be too late. Don't try to do it now. It's almost like upsetting. Like, how dare you now she's important. Alonzo, oh man, you said 14 months, bro. Like, Alonzo, like, you can really get into them as dads. Their daughters are a reflection of them. And if Rosiah is a reflection of Alonzo was making her feel loved, making her feel important, being that strong presence of a father in her life, as well as that niece. And it's like, man, I just wish, Alonzo had prioritized that or made some different decisions. Because when we get to that ending, it's like, what? What? Why? Then we have Mark. Mark, to me, was a case of babies having babies. I feel like he became a parent really, really young. And he's just kind of dealing with life as it comes at him. And this is kind of all he knows. And he's trying to figure it out. But in the meantime, Santana is suffering because they are all growing up together. Okay.
One thing I thought about watching this is that I'm glad that the dads agreed to do this show, because I know it can kind of be hard to talk about your legal issues, especially your legal issues while being incarcerated and you have children to deal with at home. So I commend them for their bravery in being able to talk about what they're going through, and for them actually not shutting down during this program, and for them being able to express what they're going through and show the emotion behind it, and allow us to see them being vulnerable, especially with their children. Mm-hmm. Because that's it. That is important for people to see, that you can act hard and you can act tough all you want to. But once them babies got there and they're about to leave, that's enough to break anybody. That you're not exempt from being torn away and ripped away from your child. And is that not a book straight out of a history book about slavery? Seeing children being ripped from their father's arms in this manner. And I think people need to think about that a little bit harder and just stay right in that moment.
You better use them degrees, Kay. Ashley.
Yeah. Tyra, you talked about it, and I think it was Keith who talked about his mama was locked up his whole life. And he said, when I grow up, I'll never be like that. And so then to see him perpetuating that exact same cycle, and hopefully Aubrey breaks free from that, right? And never goes down that path. But it's heartbreaking. And it goes back, to what Kay said. These cycles are perpetuated, slavery to today, right? And you look at it differently because, of course, we're looking at it through the lens of 2024, but the outcome is the same. Families are split apart. Like you said, babies are ripped from their parents, and then growing up, perpetuating it because it's been what they've seen. I will say Frank at his big advanced age should have been a part of his child's life while he was on the outside. Sir, get yourself together and act right. We see him getting her some jeans and all that stuff, but sir, be a presence in her life. We ain't worried about the jeans. Just stay on the straight and narrow. Mark, I need him to put a lid on it. I need him to get a hat for that Jim May. Okay. He and the baby mama, they need to cut it out. Santana can't handle no more. You know what I mean? But even then, I will say there was a humanity in those group discussions. They put that pride to the side and they were able to communicate as fathers. And I love that. And I think Chad was the facilitator, right, of the boot camp. And I love that because he said, whether you're right or wrong, whether you get out or stay in here for the rest of your life, at the end of the day, you're still a father and you need to live up to that expectation. Alonzo went out bad and it really hurt my feelings because you could tell his baby loved him. That love don't come out of the sky. He put in work for that baby to have the affection that she has for him. And to know how that one took me down a road. So, yeah.
Before I come to Dom and D, for the people out there who have not watched this doc and maybe do want to know a little bit about what these men were going through and the program to even get into the daddy-daughters dance and why things like this are necessary in prison, Lord. But let's just watch this for a second.
Fatherhood and along this journey of self-discovery.
Some parents, mothers, don't allow their kids to talk to their father.
Sometimes it's difficult to communicate through whatever hurt is present.
Generations and generations just content with nothing. Like when you talking about values, and I come in here, I be thinking about the value of I don't have nothing out there.
Do you know that just by us being in this room today, there's a negative statistic waiting for you?
Those conversations made them become angry with you, that the fathers need to be celebrated. If you can do a split or a flip, just put down your skills, because there's a moment for you to shine.
Suits and ties and shoes and undershirts. So for that moment in time, you guys will not be inmate so-and-so, right? That's the goal.
Like, damn, man, my daughter going through the same thing that I've been through. I never thought it would be like this. My mother was incarcerated.
A meeting with my probation officer, my juvenile probation officer, and she asked me, did I love my father?
Oh Lord, it's just something about seeing some Black men be vulnerable. It touches me on the inside part. It really does. It absolutely does. But Dom, after seeing that, what you thought? What did you think about these fellas really taking that time to soak up everything that 10-week program had to offer just for them to see their daughters?
This was, and I thought this documentary from a storytelling standpoint communicated effectively the need for the 10-week program. Because when the documentary starts, I'm thinking that it's just about the dance. I'm thinking that it's just about the dance and really that's it. And then when I hear about the 10-week program, I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, I'm glad it sounds cool, but then as they roll it out and then you see the statistic, you see that a lot of them haven't been in the same room as their daughter for years, months, sometimes ever at all. And then you see the psychological aspect of it is not small. And then the idea that they have to be prepared so they can be strong because when it goes down and this is over, they got to be able to help their daughters through the transition. Like all of that to me was documented and rolled out very, very well. And why I was having a whole bunch of thug tears. But this round table I thought was really important because, and I was sitting here listening to them, and when I was watching it, I was listening to them, and I was like, sometimes you want this kind of type of conversation to happen outside, like before they get into the situation, because and it doesn't. Like when I was in college, we had because I went to a PWI, and so we put together a thing where it was like a barbershop thing where nobody was getting a haircut, but it was like a bunch of Black men could come and talk about things without worrying about, women or white folk or anybody else like hearing this type of stuff we go through, so we can kind of be honest about it. And those type of conversations need to happen before you get. I mean, it's great that it's happening here and is needed here. But I wish that we could have these conversations in a larger amount before we get here, because you see how important it is, and you see how I think it was Keith, but you see how some of them were like, I knew that I'm not supposed to go back to jail. I know that in my brain, but I didn't feel it till I saw my daughter. Like that type of stuff is heavy, and I just wish we didn't have to wait till we got here to deal with it.
Yeah, I love it because so often, especially with men, it's hard to express, or it's like that thought that they don't want to express. All men want to keep everything. Like, no, these men wanted to talk. They just wanted an opportunity to be heard and not feel judged. Mm-hmm. D?
It's the layers for me. I must say, again, I'm watching, we're trucking along. I'm at this point, I'm like, okay, enjoying what I'm seeing. And I think to begin with, like I said, even with the whole idea of the daddy daughters day dance, I was just like, okay, well, how does that work? Do they just suddenly they just throw them into a room together? Or like, I'm just in my mind, like, how does this work? And just just trying to get a sense of how this is all going to play out. And then once I see this scene pop up, I was like, as far as what to quote Ashley, we cooking with grease now, a little bit of Crisco's in the mix, you know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, okay. So again, the layers, the different things we are tackling within this program, and the different just the awareness that we're bringing, because if anything, men need to have these kind of, like, as was said, as Dom said, like, this is something that needs to be had regardless. And outside of my family, I say, as someone who hasn't always felt safe in a world full of men, shout out to Sophia, I wish I had been given more opportunities to bond and connect with other men in ways that were not abusive, or had some element of abuse involved too. It was just like, I need to see that outside of the men in my family, there are other, men and young men or boys, whatever, in this world, and that we all are, going through things that we can relate, and we can actually work through the things that we have been through. And so I love the fact that it was like, okay, no, you got stuff to learn, and you have things to figure out, and the things you have to deal with. You don't get to just, like, you don't get to just like, okay, well, here I am, like, deal with it. We got stuff to work through. So I was actually really proud that this was a piece of, and such a significant piece of the film, and just the story, the program, all of that.
Yeah, they managed to cram a whole lot in here that I was not expecting, like the aspect of these mothers and how much dimension they all have and how different they all are from each other. A lot of these women, they are all different, but all kind of going through the same thing. And I felt like they were either waiting with the aspect of their significant other to get out, to be with them and be a father, or that was that static, toxic relationship where there was just some deep-rooted resentment. And I don't care either way. But I just wanted to ask the panel, would you allow your child to actively visit their father in prison, or mother, depending if it came down to that? How comfortable would you be? Because with me watching this and seeing how how impactful it is for them, I couldn't say with a definitive answer that of course I would, take my babies. I really don't know. Ashley?
Oh, this is hard, and you would come to me first. So here's the thing, if I done laid down in that bed with somebody and we done created life, barring him being a predator, if he was a good father, active in the child's life and they had a good relationship, I'd probably do my darndest. But here's the thing, jail freaks me out. I'm like Dom. He said he hear doors clacking, he see the jail, it makes him whatever. And the checks and the strips and all that, it's hard for me. But if I had a child, and like I said, that father was actively involved in their life and was a good man, and he was not a predator, right? I would make the effort. After seeing something like this and seeing, the opposite, I don't know. But then it's like you can deal with another piece of trauma. Is the visit traumatizing for the baby?
Yeah, that's what I'm working
Very
on.
hard and complex, right? I'm glad I'm not in that situation. Thank you, Jesus. But I would hope that if they did have a good relationship, I would try to foster.
That's the aspect of it that I was concerned about. Like, it's real cute when, daddy got to do an 8-month bid and we got to, take that trip. But 8 months and 8 years is totally different. It's a really strong commitment, and you have to deal with when we walk out of here, and whatever that may or may not be doing to your child. It's really scary to me, honestly. Okay.
It's kind of like a double-edged sword, because again, my daughter is my husband's shadow, and if anything like this ever happened to him, it would probably be over him or over her in the first place. He would end up in the situation if it had to do with her. And I can't say that I would deny her being able to see him, but being that he knows what the conditions are, I don't think that he would even want her in a place like this to go and see him at. I don't think that he would even allow that. Now maybe this kind of this dance situation is different because they try to make it more conducive for the children to be around. But that regular, we just going in for a lockup visit and, window love, I don't think that he would even be for that.
Yeah. D?
Yeah, I was going to say, the problem is, even if I say this as someone who obviously is a entire adult, but I can't say that even if it was a family member, a friend, really close family friend or something like that, if it's a place I want to be, they're very oppressive environments. And even when you haven't done anything wrong, there's just the feeling when you go in there, just just like you just looking over your shoulder, or you just feel like, will I get back out?
They about to get me on a technicality. I ain't did nothing.
Right. It's just like somebody's gonna find a way to get me stuck in here. And so I think just already it has its own presence and its own just that the energy and everything that it gives off is not a place. It's not something that anyone would really want to be near if given the choice. So I do think that's challenging. I do think it comes down to the dynamic though. And you have to also understand and it's hard to understand that as a parent. So I understand there are kind of levels with that as well. But I think ultimately it comes down to understanding what your child really needs. And if it's something that ultimately, even though the circumstances aren't ideal, can benefit them in some way and they can feel some sense of connection, then cool. But if it's something that may, inadvertently add trauma or add this weird, layer to the situation, then it may just be best to stay away. So it's a hard dilemma, definitely.
When placing this question here, I was thinking about Aubrey, because we see, that desire was strong at first, and in the span of a few years, it seems like she wants to be anywhere else but there. Dom?
Yeah, poor Aubrey. It depends, because like we said, and I've said before, I don't drive past jail. and I don't go in. I tell the partners back home, you bet not go, because I won't come visit you. Because yeah, that's like a legit fear of mine, that I'm gonna walk in and they're gonna find a reason to keep me and what I'm gonna do. So I won't. But at the same time, when you have children, and I can never think of my child outside of the context of the fact that I'm raising a Black child. And so when you're raising children, to me, you have to strike a balance between protecting your child from the world and preparing them for the world. And so at the end of the day, it comes back to like everybody else said, the relationship you have with the parent, but also I think the age and development of the child comes into play too, because my 7-year-old not going to nobody's jail. That's not what's about to happen. We might be able to do one of these video chats if we can do it remotely from the house. But she's not gonna see that. But as you get older, and as we talk about it, and as we talk about consequences, and we talk about the way the world works and how stuff works, and she expresses a desire to do it as she gets older. If she's 10, 11, 12, and I feel like that might be beneficial to her, then maybe. But it just, every child is different, every situation is different, and yeah, like you said, you don't know the impact that's going to have on the child. So I think the context of how old the child is, and the relationship with, and what kind of prison are you in? Because what you in for? Because because in Atlanta the jail is crazy. But are you in one of these white folks jails where you getting steak? That depends. It depends. All right.
Yeah, and we of course are considering the child, but like the emotional toll that this is taking on some of the parents, like it's just a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. But
your grandma can take you, because I ain't taking you.
It's the whole lot. But getting into more of just the benefits of this program and the value in it, there's vulnerability, there's mentorship, there's purpose, and there's motivation. 95%, there's a 95% of the participants do not return to prison. I was like, okay, why isn't this everywhere? Why? Kay says she don't know. I'm gonna come to her first. Kay, with seeing things like this and how beneficial they are, you would think people will be breaking their necks to add this to prison reforms all around the world, and we need to. It just begs the question: why aren't there more outlets like this? And we know why, but I just. Mm-hmm. I would love for this to be an eye opener to there's so many ways to reform somebody. It doesn't always have to be slavery. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you are voting in your local elections, because these things like this are on the ballot. There are some politicians that are in support of prison reform and some are not. If you are not voting in your local and state elections, these are the type of programs that you could be voting for or passing over.
D.
This, you know what? This, I was going to mention this at some point, but I guess it's a good place to say it. This, along with the film Sing Sing, which I also had the chance to see, they have their own program, but that has to do with stage plays and literacy and performing arts and all of that. I believe it's called Rehabilitation Through the Arts. And I think the thing is, when it comes to, and I understand people kind of dismiss it, because when it comes to prison, they just kind of see one specific image, one specific thing. And if you did it, oh, well, that's what you deserve and that's what you get, and da, 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 da. So whatever comes with it, take it, deal with it, suck it up, buttercup. But the thing is, there are so many opportunities with a couple of exceptions, mind you, especially depending on the crime. But there are so many learning opportunities that go unnoticed, that are wasted, that are not tapped into at all. Because what better? Because the thing is, prison, you ain't going nowhere. You know, you got the gym, the dining room, the shower. Like, you only got a few places to go. We all in the same building, so you can't go anywhere. So my thing is, it's about, since you are in this one solitary space, it's about then unlocking doors in your mind, and about allowing your mind to not be trapped in that same, or the same three spaces, or whatever space you've kind of relegated to yourself to. And I think that's what the importance of this really is. It's like, really think about your life, really think about your experiences, look at everything, look at the pattern. And that's what's so great. As someone who has been in therapy for years, you know, still learning things about myself today that I'm still, you know, having to understand and work through, made a lot of progress and still learning. But I think it's more so about that, like, you know, open up the doorways, open up the pathways, and helping these men really understand why those decisions were made, why it has affected their lives now, and why is it worth it, even beyond the daughters. I mean, that's a huge piece of the puzzle, but even beyond them, like, what do you understand now about yourself that can keep you from returning to this again? And so I think that was for me, that was a huge value. That was the biggest value for me, just getting here, like, unlock this, please.
Dom?
You know, like what was said, prison reform in general is just not a priority for a lot of areas of the country. But I think additionally, like Dee said, stuff like this is a harder sell because it's the arts, and it's I think in a lot of people's mind, it's not tangible. It's not a tangible outcome, like, you know, oh, you went to therapy, you went to a group therapy session for 10 weeks. Is that gonna make a big deal? And the idea of, like, inmate rehabilitation,
they're gonna make a profit, because that's what it's really.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting to, is that it, like what Kay said, you should support, you should vote and support. That's one very important aspect of it. It can't get done if you don't do that. But at the same time, I think you also need to package stuff like this correctly, because packaging like, oh, it helped them and it helped daughters, is not going to move anybody, because nobody cares. In a real sense, nobody cares enough to do anything. And so you have to package it like, can this make money? Can this change? Like, if you were to package this like, okay, so 95% of the people who go through this program don't go back to jail. So then give me a statistic of how many of them get jobs. How much does that influx the local economy? Like, you got to break stuff like that down, so people be like, oh, this is a net benefit to me personally. Like, because I think a lot of times when you hear stuff like this, all people hear is criminals back on the street. And I think that's a hard obstacle for people. And it's like, no, this is a net benefit to the local economy. And then if you spread these programs around the country, then by extension, the country benefits. And so I think people, like, when we see these programs, people think that, oh, you're going to watch the documentary, your heart's going to change. Because, like, all of us who watched it, our heart didn't change. We were kind of already on this side, and it was like, oh, it was just presented in a way that made us cry. But none of us were like, oh, you know, on the opposite side, and this changed our mind. And I think the people like this think this documentary is going to change people's minds, and I don't think in that sense it will. I think it'll give people who are ignorant information, and maybe they'll be like, oh, I didn't know, and so now I think a certain way. But people who don't want this type of stuff, or don't see the benefit in this type of stuff, I think you have to package it in a way that helps them, because people are selfish. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. The what is it? The, like, prison industrial complex has no desire to implement this on a broad scale, right? Because if I'm not getting 95% of these people back in the jailhouse, I'm losing money. I'm not making money. But what an amazing program. And the fact that these men were on good behavior, attended regularly for 10 weeks, all about their children, was amazing to me. Because, I mean, you automatically assume that if someone's in prison, there's a lack of impulse control in some way, right? In one way or another. there's some impulse issues. I mean, you want to get that bag, you can't control your hands, your mouth, the blicky, whatever. And so the idea that they said, I'm gonna sacrifice these 10 weeks. I'm gonna get in here in a place where it's frowned upon to show weakness, right? And I'm gonna shed a tear. I'm gonna tell the whole truth about this situation, about something that's so close to my heart. I think that this program is innovative. I think it's amazing. I would pray that a lot more facilities would adopt it. But we know what it is. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. But I loved seeing their growth, even from the program where everyone's kind of stoic until the end. Like I said, when they're hugging, they crying, they tying the ties. Like, child, it took me through the entire gamut of emotion. And I hope we see more of this.
Absolutely. And for you guys just getting here, I'm going to run it back. I want to run back this video of the girls and then run back this video of the men speaking in their 10-week program and then see what happens when we finally get to dance with our daughter.
My cousin taught me my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 timetable. I'm the smartest one in my class. I wish my dad was home already.
Next time you go back in jail, you're not going to even share one single tear. And when my dad was home, she was so nice and stuff. My dad not around, so I'm the dad.
Everything was important to him except for Jayana. Why do you want to bond with her while you're incarcerated?
I don't even remember his face. I don't remember nothing about my father. When I talk to him, tell him about my day, and I remember he's not here. He should give us more time on the phone, 15 minutes, when he's going to be in there for how long?
She's academically challenged because she struggles on focusing. She went on the rooftop and she was thinking about jumping off.
Oh, Lord.
Along this journey of fatherhood, and along this journey of self-discovery.
Some parents, mothers, don't allow their kids to talk to their father.
Sometimes it's difficult to communicate through whatever hurt is present.
Generations and generations just content with nothing. Like when you talking about values, and I come in here, I be thinking about the value of I don't have nothing out there.
Do you know that just by us being in this room today, there's a negative statistic waiting for you?
Those conversations made them become angry with you, that the fathers need to be celebrated. If you can do a split or a flip, just put down your skills, because there's a moment for you to shine.
Suits and ties and shoes and undershirts. So for that moment in time, you guys will not be inmates so-and-so, right? That's the goal.
Like, damn, man, my daughter going through the same thing that I've been through. I never thought it would be like this. My mother was incarcerated.
A meeting with my probation officer, my juvenile probation officer, and she asked me, did I love my father?
Now, y'all, this dance part, for whatever reason, Netflix and YouTube wanted to be copyright city and not let me show them people getting together the way I wanted to. But I tried to put something together to where everybody could get the gist of what this dance did for everyone here.
We all say, like, we gotta get home, man. We can't come back and all this and all that. But that's the day I actually felt Like I can't come back to prison no more. Like I never felt it, you know what I'm saying? And that hurt.
Oh. Hopefully you guys got the gist. This dance was everything. To see the anticipation of the men waiting in the hall, like it, I was rocking with them, like, oh my God, they coming. They coming, like, because you just never know. A lot of these babies hadn't seen them in so long. Some of them not at all, and some of them, for the dads who went through the program, and then the daughters, for whatever reason with the mothers, they didn't come, so they just had to watch. To see them go through the emotions of having what they could have in that short amount of time, and a lot of the girls I even love the activities there. Like, we're gonna make the most of this moment because we're not gonna get like we're trying to do a billion things at once. There's drawings, there's photos, there's paintings, we're writing, we're dancing, we're doing a Soul Train line, we Aubrey, so we get in our timetables. Like we're saying everything that we have to say in this moment because we might not be able to say it again, especially to your face, and that's when we're not crying. So for them to soak all of that up and then have to leave. For them to soak all that up, break those walls down, like our Santana, who was very, I ain't shitting the tits, baby. Soon as she saw her dad, it was those walls dropped real quick. Like, oh my God, like there's hope, there's light. Even Jayana, she's trying to relate in the moment, girl. It's just hop on who this woman, because I'm doing what I can, what I got. I'm doing what I can, Frank. And even getting into Alonzo and the two girls, Denise and Rosiah, it was just so emotional. So to know that they leave and to see them, take off the suit, like they look like men. They look like men. Nobody looked like a prisoner. They got to be just men and just be fathers just for this little bit of time. And you just see why something like this is so necessary. And then when they got on, one knee and they had to apologize and make those pledges to the girls, I was really touched and really moved. And this is when the thug tears started dropping. I was strong up until this point. Once we got here and they had to say goodbye and these men are trying to hold it together, but they're just as emotional as the girls, I couldn't take it no more. Dumb.
When they in the beginning of this dance, when they were walking into the gym, and Aubrey, because her dad said, he was like, I didn't recognize you because your hair is done. And Aubrey said, you didn't know who I was? And then she was like, if you don't know who I am and I run to you, I'm Aubrey. I was like, oh man. I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, that got me right there, because like she's like, you gonna know it's me. This was such a emotional roller coaster. Like you said, I'm glad that they gave them a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
But specifically because, we can get all these memories in this small amount of time, but also I think it helped to break the ice because I don't know you. And so us trying to have a conversation right now might be a little difficult because I don't know you. And so if you can give us activities, is a way for us to connect and make it and decrease the tension. And so we can get to the happy memories. And I like the fact that like you said, they had suits on. They had haircuts. They look like grown men. They look like fathers. And then we don't see them go back to their cells, like because just the clothes on the floor was too much for me. I was like, But the fact that we don't see these people laying in their cells, we don't see them incarcerated. We only see them as men was very important and powerful to me, and I appreciated that. And this was so good. Everybody should see this. I won't ever see this again because I don't need this type of tears in my life.
Oh, D.
I felt like I was doing just fine. And it was, and I think I was even okay when they were walking down the hallway because it was more so a sense of excitement. I would say when Santana immediately like reverted. That was like the first thing. And then when I saw Keziah and then Denise also, I just was like, Lord, ooh, I feel it coming. I feel it coming. And then, you know, in the dance and all the things they got to experience. And there was a small, I wasn't thinking about it in the moment in theory, but then as the scene continued on, it was just like, oh, I had this pit in my stomach because I'm like, this all has to come to an end at some point.
Yeah.
And then when it did, it was just like, I think it's one of those things. And let me tell you what really, really got me. When Aubrey said, kept holding her father's face at the end, and then she said, like, okay, we're just gonna say, see you later, because we say bye to me, and what the reason it made me cry, because it's just like not just that sense of hope and idealism as a child, but she's like literally telling her father, like, okay, we're gonna be okay, suck it up, it's all right. Okay, cool. And even when she walks away, it's like, okay, and she's, like, there's so much, there's not even like really tears from her, I don't know, that hit me so hard. And I can't remember which the gentleman it was the one that I know Mark hugged, but I love what he said when he said basically, like, because he got to just watch because his child couldn't be there. But he said that you need to understand that, the streets don't have anything for us. The streets don't love us. They do. They need us. They love us. That's what we're fighting for, basically. And I was like, well, pass the collection plate, because that's the word right there. Like, that's what it is. And they even said something earlier about how, I think it might have been Chad that said it, but basically said, like, normalizing slavery and incarceration, they want this to seem normal for all of us. And just getting beyond that mindset. And I'm glad they had the chance to actually feel the loss. Because sometimes, and I'm not saying that they weren't still thinking about their children, but some things can be out of sight, out of mind. And so putting it right here, flesh and blood, 3-dimensional image, situation, quality time, all of that, you get to feel that gut punch when they are gone. It's just like when you tell a child not to touch something on a hot stove, and you can tell them all day, but until they touch it and feel that pain, then they're like, oh, okay, I need to learn from this. And so, yeah, this scene definitely hit hard.
Child, what did it for me was the baby who took that Beyonce. I said, girl, that's supposed to be a vibe, a party. I just want to have a good time. You're supposed to step. I would never. I was like, oh, baby, no. I ain't letting my daddy go. Never. She took that Frankie Beverly and Maze and made it her own, baby. She internalized that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm under no delusions. I am a crybaby, and I was crying well before this, but I will say that the tears increased up on the exit of the daddy-daughter dance. Now, here's the thing, right? And I was so aware of this throughout the entire time. And that's the idea that sometimes we can go about life. I think especially these men, right, who've been incarcerated, a lot of them most of their lives, and think that they're not valuable, and that they're not needed, and that they're not wanted, and that their impact doesn't mean anything. And so I think seeing them together and seeing the impact that saying goodbye had on their babies. And we heard the one man say, up until now, I had never not wanted to come back. Like, I knew it was always a possibility, and that I was willing to come back if I needed to. This is the first time that I ever said I can't come back. Like, that's profound, and that's wild, because I don't know if we get it all the time, right? That these men it's not necessarily a lot of times, I don't think that they don't want to be fathers or active in their babies' lives, but maybe their life is better without me. And it couldn't be further from the truth for a lot of these men, y'all. It got me. Yeah, I can't even say I'm a G anymore, because, like I said, I was already crying before this. This just took it to the next level.
Kay, how many thug tears did you drop?
See, I'm still an OG, triple OG, okay? I ain't boohoo cry. I had that Denzel glory. I had that one that just fell, okay? That's all I had. I let that one come down. It was little Aubrey for me, because again, she reminded me so much of my own child, who who has coping skills for everybody else except herself. And and when she was when she was telling the dad, like, okay, so when she seen her dad distraught because he knew like this is it. Time is winding down. I'm not going to see you. And she's like, okay, we're going to take some deep breaths. we're going to take deep breaths. It's going to be 7 years, not 8. And I'm going to just say, see you later. Like, I'm going to see you soon. And I'm going to be good and you be good. Like, she's like literally trying to hold him up with so much empathy and discernment at her own age that she was putting his emotions before hers at that age. Already thinking of this grown man and how he felt even before her own, being able to say, I know I miss you as my dad, but I can, I'm gonna get to go home after this and you're not. So I want you to be okay because I get to walk out. You don't. So I want to be able to say I can help you to be okay. And I don't know what it is about little girls because my daughter is the same way. She is just like a second mom to him. Like, I wanted to, when it's time to eat, you need to come eat. No hats at the table. Isn't it time for us to go? Are you tired? Maybe you should go to sleep. Or maybe you should hold my hand at this time. Or you didn't drink enough water. You should drink some water. Or did you eat enough? Like, always like being mindful of his health and well-being. And it's like, how are you like this at such a young age? How are you like that? And I know that had to hurt him to see the person who upholds him so often walk out of those doors and he can't do anything about it.
Oh, it hurt me too. It hurt me. It hurt me so much too. Like, even just the notion of Aubrey having to be that strong. Like, the adultification that happens to Black girls in general, like, it's wild. So I really enjoyed the aspect here of seeing like someone like a little Aubrey and just seeing even just down to the way that they were dressed, like these were little girls. I really appreciated that because people are so quick to age up or feel like, oh, those Black girls, they don't need that. Like they're fine. They're grown by the time they hit 9. No, we're not. All of these things, all of the things are very, very necessary, and the adultification needs to stop. And I felt that so much with Aubrey and with Rosier, because somebody would write her off also of you're a teenager, like get over it, grow up, just dismiss her mental state. And child, getting into that, this of course had to end. And I wasn't expecting for us to kind of time jump and catch up with these girls and these men 3 years later. Now we got Santana here first. Freedom, freedom, baby. He free. I'm so happy he stuck by his word and is doing what he said he would. A little bit goes a long way. Santana is happy. She's thriving. There's family. And, a weight is lifted. Weight is lifted off my shoulders. The weight is lifted. Dee, how did it feel to see Santana 13 now and see her out there in the world with her father and happy? Her whole demeanor is, it's still her, but it's different. You can tell that something has been lifted off of her heart.
Oh man, it was glorious. It really, really was. The thing is, like you, I wasn't expecting a time jump. I just figured it was probably going to close out, I don't know, some kind of way. I didn't think it was going to be this necessarily. And so to not only see, I don't know, just not only to see her in a better space and kind of acknowledging that things are better, but to also see Mark, also acknowledging, look, and also referencing the fact that like his whole in and out with jail, like every 6 months, he was just the cycle continuing, and just to see him not even just with his children, but even like when he told the one to stop running, you want fish, and just as a parent actively there and just in the moment, I thought it was beautiful, and I thought also just how gratifying in a sense that that happened, and I don't know the specific time he got out, but it's just like it's almost like he caught her just in time. Because she was on the precipice. So being able to see her just have that and see that come together, I thought that was beautiful.
No, absolutely. It's not even Santana, man, because we got to work per usual as soon as we touched down. It's 4 daughters there and not 3. You have 4 girls. You have 4 daughters. Sit your ass down. Ashley,
Yeah, I told you he better not mess up. Don't you mess up. You don't have another time. I'm glad you done been out a year or have better, whatever it was. Stay out, sir. Stay out and relax on them babies. Like, okay. I said, how we got a whole new one? Like the baby was just a baby and we had a brand new one now. But again, I was not expecting a whole longitudinal study. I thought it was going to be a one and done. I did not know we were going to get the follow-up, but I'm here for a follow-up because again, they're giving us an inside look at what these young ladies are going through and what these fathers are going through. But I was elated to see the family unit reconnected. I love a whole family, and I love that he's trying for more.
Yeah, trying. And I did like to see that in the end, he kept his connection with Chad as a mentor. Like you can tell he's really making a different effort than he did prior. Love to see it.
Can I say one thing real quick? I realized I totally forgot to say it. But Mark was there at Sundance for the Q&A afterwards, and I believe he was there with his family, and so he still making the strides, still doing what he needs to do, and he was just talking about how gratifying the experience was, and just even be able to look back on it and everything. So I'm like, oh, that's important to say. So I just wanted to say.
Yes, it is. You better do that, Mark. Oh, hi, Mark. I love it. I absolutely love that. It's so good. Dumb.
Man, this was like a deep breath, because like you said, I wasn't expecting a follow-up years later. I thought it was gonna be like how biopics end, we was gonna get the text on the screen and some pictures. Right. Yeah, and so that's what I was expecting. So to actually see them at the time, it was a breath of fresh air, because I was like, okay, it worked. And it was great, and we're doing different things. We're looking at things different, and we're here. We're here with our daughters, and we gonna stay here. And I felt like a lot of times that's all. Sometimes we need is a wake up call and then a chance. We just need a wake up call and a chance. And I'm glad that he seized his chance after his wake up call. Because every 6 months was wild to me. I was like. And I was like, to me, you can't when he said that, I was like, yeah, that's all he needed was he needed something to wake him up, because every 6 months is crazy. That's a crazy way you think about life. And I think we get to we assume too much when we look at people who are in and out of the prison system, or who get wrapped up in certain ways of life, of like, well, why don't you have the same outlook on life that I do? And I'm like, you didn't go through the same things I went through. And so certain stuff is going to hit differently, because we didn't go through life the same way, and we didn't have the same opportunities and advantages and support systems and stuff like that. So for him to be out and stay out, to me, was I wanted to cheer. I wanted to give him a standing ovation in my living room, because I was like, that's what's up.
Now, Kay, coming to you, I'm gonna go on over here to Frank. I'm going to go on over here to Frank, because I wasn't expecting this either. The thought of her mother falling ill, I was like, what? I was like, why? Like, why? And even though that was heartbreaking enough, I was like, it's just so much more important that you are present with the aspect of her losing a parent and somebody as prominent as her mother. I love the little moments we get with her and her mother, and them singing in the bed, and you just really get to see how close they are. But it's going to be an uphill situation. You have to earn that trust. I do like that there seems to be opportunity here, and she is receptive, and there's a willingness with him. But it's like, buddy, come on, okay? What you think about Frank?
He got to show up. With no excuses either. Like there can be no excuses, no blame game. Like it's showtime for you. The torch is passed to you. It's on you. The mom did all she could while she was there, and he's got to step up. Like there's no fallback plan. Like, because if it's not you, then who? Like there is no one else. Like it literally has to be him. And I hope that he has the strength and the support so that he can stand strong for her and be there for her. And I really hope that she has the necessary therapies and support as well to get her through the things that she was going through with both parents. She kind of got double whammy. in this situation. And I hope that those around her understand that, and that I hope that she is able to give herself grace and allow herself to get help and support so that she can work through those things.
Ashley?
Okay, so I saw Falling Ill, and it gave the ring of like ominous, right? But is the lady, did she pass?
They didn't say. They didn't say. But even if even if she is just, you know, ill, that you need to really step up and be that bridge right now.
Yeah, he does. Well, I'm listen, I'm praying for Jayana's mama because we need her mama to stay around as long as possible. But yes, he got to do right. And again, it's more than them jeans, sir. She's looking for him to show up, be consistent, and get to know who this man is. Because who are you? You know what I mean? And so I really hope that he remains consistent and he keeps up with their visits and that they're able to build a bond and that he sticks with it. That's my hope and prayer, because like Kay said, all of these young ladies need to be with somebody's counselor. I love that they're a part of that group and they have their sister circles and bonds. But we still do need, you know, some outside help. So I hope that she's getting all of the help that she needs and that he does what he needs to do.
Definitely. There's a constant look of discernment on her face. Like, so are you really going to be here for me? Because don't waste my time. Dom?
Frank, out of anybody, Frank is who I want to know. What did you do? What did you do? Because you don't look like you was. I just want to know what you did. That's all. I just because it was nothing serious. Because I watched too many movies and I watched too much TV, and I'm like, if Frank was in a TV show, he wasn't on the corner. He was like, you know, he was like the accountant for the dope deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want, but he could kill somebody. Like, I just want to know what Frank did so I could get that out of my head. That was all. But yeah, he kind of was a little stereotypical out of everybody in the sense of like, yeah, I'm gonna come out and now I'm a, you know, with the gifts and all that type of stuff. It just seemed like, you know, these are overtures because we don't have a real connection. And so and yeah, the way she was looking at him, like, we gonna see. Like, we gonna see. Like, I'm hoping for the best, expecting the worst. Like, that's how she was looking at him. And I when I was looking at her, I was like, it's so hard to be a parent. It's so hard to be a parent because in my mind, I'm like, because like I said earlier, I believe in too late. I believe in over with. And yeah, as a parent, you got to like kind of put that to the side because you got to give folks a chance, and you got to like instill that in children because sometimes it's easier, like as far as like in the day to day, it's easier just let me go to school, let me be with my friends, let me not think about this because these are complicated emotions and it's difficult to deal with that to get to a place where we're good. And now if her mother is ill, I mean, her mother didn't seem that motivated to do it in the first place. But now that she's not ill, you know, there's nobody that we know of that's like, you know, encouraging her to make a connection and stuff like that. And so I think that, you know, I pray for them and I hope the best for them and their connection. I just hope he doesn't get discouraged and then falls back on old routines because it's not happening as fast as he wants it to happen. That's all.
Them old routines of being an accountant done.
Hey.
Yeah. D, I am gonna come to you on Resiah. Free my daddy. 30 years. What did you do? What 30 years? 30 years.
So I do think this is the complication where I think. And it's hard because you want to humanize and not make the crimes the focus, but it also puts things into context at the same time. So, because the thing is, yes, we can obviously point to the unfairness of the system, and I'm not saying I'm pretty sure some of that is also at play because 30 is extreme. However, I also don't know the circumstances either. So it could be something.
Give me some circumstances, because if you caught a body,
right?
You know, oh, I got 14 months and I'm getting like it's just 14 months and 30 years. Like, I just thought it was going to be, 3, 5, 30.
They put it in the chat, Tyra.
Yeah, if that's true,
Oh.
that's wild.
Lord have mercy. We got to check it. Lord.
What? Excuse me?
Dom's clutching his pearls.
That's wild. No, because we gotta go back to what we said before. Because I gotta change my answer. Because about taking my kid to jail. No, you can't. No, unless the couple was trying to kill my kid. No, you can't go see your daddy. Sorry, you can't go see him. Sorry, no.
What?
Nah, if that's true, nah.
I'm sorry, D. Continue.
Well, that
sorry.
that just threw. If that is true, that kind of throws things off a little bit. Yeah. So okay. Oh gosh. Yeah. I'm just like I'm trying to. Okay. So let me just say this. This is objectively speaking, because if that's what happened, then I'm like, consequences are the consequences. I will say this. I do think that putting aside, because this is my initial thought before. Well, I think someone put a link, but I can't see it. But putting aside the actual, so let's just say I'm going to say this like I didn't know that happened. I do think that it does speak sometimes to what some might deem kind of the unfairness of life and what one needs, because some, and this is going to sound bad and I don't mean for it to, but some would look at the situation with Frank and it's just like, well, if this was going to be the outcome, then maybe, like, basically I could see some people saying like, oh, what if the roles were reversed, basically, and maybe Alonzo should have been the one to get out and Frank could have just stayed in if it was going to be this kind of dynamic, knowing only because Jayon is already shut off, there's already not a good dynamic there, and then Rosiah is the one who is having all this emotional turmoil and all these issues and all these things, and she's the one and her cousin and his niece are kind of dealing with this additional turmoil, and so his presence is significantly needed, and for it to be that, in as far as the outcome, it's just like, what will that mean for her development? And my hope is that, as Kay has been saying throughout, like, I hope that with therapy, with community support, family support, something, that she can make peace with this, and go forward from there, because that was like a gut punch. But again, if that was really it, I'm not going to sugarcoat the situation and act like, oh, well, these are the consequences that happen, and that's the ultimate punishment, is that it falls down to your daughter and she is the one who ultimately suffers, in the same way that it even feels sad to say that, but in the same way that you may have made these folks suffer, or these children suffer, like that those things come back around. So I'm just gonna leave it there.
What I can say is it does look like the Rosiah that we have here at 18 is not the Rosiah from 15, and struggling within herself so heavily to contemplate her life, or struggling in school. She's maybe a high school graduate. She's very excited. I love getting to see her walk across that stage. So clearly there is some support and progress being made on her end, but child, they're coming through me for a loop. Ashley.
I listen, Magali sent me with that one, and I put it in the back chat, y'all, the link to the article and everything, because I found it. It doesn't change the love that a daughter has for their father, right? It was heartbreaking though, seeing it across the screen as she's graduating, like, free him, and it's like he'll be serving another 30 years. And I was like, what in the world? I was like, yo, what did he do? My goodness. But you're right. She's definitely evolved. She is not that broken girl that we saw before. It looks like she's running headfirst into her destiny. And I pray the best for her in her life and that she somehow escapes this cycle, right? Because Lord have mercy, that's heavy. And that's extreme. And I think it goes to show that at different ages in adolescence, we can't necessarily manage our emotions effectively. That's why a support system is key. That's why therapy is vital. And I think as she matures and goes and, gets older, she's been better able to wrap her head around it. I don't know if today at my large age, I could wrap my head around that. So kudos to her, and I pray the best for her in her life. And I know her mama loves her down. She has a great mother from what we've seen. And I just hope she goes on to bigger and better. Go to college, maybe do whatever you want to do in this life.
What I will say is that 30 years was because I'm yelling, what did he do? But, it's only so many things that you're going to do that's going to get you that kind of time. And it just kind of woke me up with the documentary because everybody in jail or everybody who was a part of that program didn't, run a red light. Okay.
So we're gonna have to switch the direction of this therapy here, because when you get 30 years, we already know that a body was dropped. So we're gonna have to say this free my daddy, and we're gonna have to put that away. He's going to have a new family in the prison cell where he is at, because he's going to be there a while, long enough to form a whole new rapport of family. At this point, they need to be moving her along the process of grieving what was. That relationship is not, as she's graduating, it's time to grow up and live in reality. The relationship that she was longing for her father is not going to happen at this point. And she has to come to a realization of that and heal that part. And know we got to move on alone without him. Rosai, he's not going to be free. He actually needs to be there. Okay. He dropped not one, but two bodies. He going to be there. And he probably should be there. We got to heal that and move on so that she has the courage and strength to put what was and the fantasy of the father relationship she thought that she thought she wanted, or maybe believed she had before, and we're gonna have to live in reality of what is right now.
The way I wanted to be delusional, I wanted to be over there with her because I wanted to see what I saw in this man in these tears and who he was as a father. I was like, 30 years, even though we know what it was like, maybe he got a real thick RICO charge.
Can't free the guilty people.
Dom, did I come to you? I'm discombobulated.
I don't know, because 30 years is crazy. Damn, double homicide. It was and then like Kay said, we gotta start talking to the baby, especially you done graduated high school and we in adulthood now, so we have to start talking about consequences, long-term effects, and what the relationship with your father is going to actually look like. Like we're out of the fantasy of what we want, and now we gotta be like, okay, you can still have a relationship with your father, it's just going to now look like this until you're 50. Like that is the conversations we gotta start having now, is because it's like you're going to be possibly a grandmother before he ever sees sunlight free again. So that's the conversations we gotta have. And it's still, I don't think it takes away from the actual dance or the things that she went through, because I do think that all of that is still necessary. I think that connection and that hug that he gave both them girls and the crying, like, and that's the nuance that we have to talk about now that you're an adult, because when you're kids, everything is very black and white. It's my daddy and that's my daddy and that's it. But now that we're an adult, you can save space for both. Like you can be like, he was a supportive person to me individually, and he also is somebody who did a horrible thing twice. Yeah. And those complicated emotions is something that you can have in you, but we when you graduate, we got your diploma. We're gonna go get some pizza. You're gonna have a good night, and in the morning we're going to therapy because you need because you need to talk to somebody about this because that's a very deep wound that's not going away, and so that was hurtful. 30 years is crazy. I was hoping that he was like Frank Lucas. You know what I'm saying? Like he was doing some drug stuff.
You got a Rico charge.
He was in the game. He was calling shots. That's what I was so fun. I was like, he could get parole at 15. Like that's what I was in my mind. I watched
Don't say he can get parole at 15. But look, I had to save our girl for last because she's the one who hit the hardest. It's not quite 30 years, but it's not 7 either. A decade can feel like a century for a girl. The transition from age 5 to 8 was very telling. 10 years, disinterested, regressing, and disappointed. Oh, Aubrey. Like, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? With the dad Keith being in the inside and his most prevalent memories of Aubrey being before he went in, before she was 5, there is this and that's just dads who aren't as present in the outside world too. Whatever you leave them as, that's what you imagine they're going to always be. She's going to always, this is on no, we kind of saw it happening. I think because they do like a year jump with Aubrey. They do like it was slowly, that disinterest just like I don't want to talk on the phone. I don't want to go. I don't want to acknowledge him in this space. Just sing me happy birthday and let's just move on. Why is that man's pictures on the table? Like I love the doc and getting to see Aubrey and Santana or Jayana or Rasiah, especially in the case of Jayana or Santana, is like kind of a preview to what Aubrey could be or what she could escalate to, because she just looks so broken and she's just so disappointed that it's not even like, because 7 years is 7 years and 10 is 10 too, but it's not just about that. Mentally, what for as intelligent as she was, when you really settle into what 7 years is, and I'm gonna come out when you're a teenager, it sounds real plausible at 4 and 5, and Daddy, I can wait for you forever. Yeah, it's giving fairy tale. But once we get of a certain age and we're seeing it for what it is, 7 years is a long time. And they say that she at this point, she hadn't seen her dad or touched him, interacted since that dance. Like that's the last thing or interaction that we had. They've moved him, several states over, and just to hear the disappointment in his voice that, during that visit, like she just wasn't engaging with him. And then that phone call in the car, it's like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. I was like, oh, I just see what Aubrey is becoming due to the situation. And I just hope that may her mother be a bridge and everything that she needs in this moment and all that she can be, because she's going to need it. She's hurt. Ashley.
Yeah. I mean, at 7, you can't fully wrap your head around it. And she had 7 in her mind, baby. It wasn't 7. He said, well, baby, hopefully 7. She said, no, 7. It'll be 7. Because I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing for it to be 7, right? Because with her, it was about these conditions. If I can just do this, then this will happen here. And I hate that disappointment for her. I hate that. And I really wish there could have been a conversation that said, baby, it's not about whatever you do. And I get it as a way to, keep her on the right path, whatever. But it just sets up false expectations. And I hate that, because it's like she got set up for the okie doke. And I think, again, the super tears came in this moment because you saw her light go out. Like, oh my gosh, this bubbly, excitable child who's ready to share her knowledge with the world, honey, talking about her daddy and how much she loves him, to, okay. Yeah, like her countenance completely fell. Like, oh my goodness. But this is a part of it. This is what this looks like. And I hope when people watch this documentary, men, women, everybody, that they remember her. And not saying her life is over, because she seems like she has a strong mother, and hopefully she has resources that'll help her get through this. But baby, that mark it's indelible. That feeling of loss, and that disappointment, that's not so great. Disappointments can stick with you for a lifetime. And I feel like this unending waiting, like you said, it feels like forever. In a child's years, this has been forever, and he's still not home. So I don't want to talk to you till you get home, because everything I did didn't work. You know what I mean? So, and it almost could become, why do I try going forward?
Yeah.
You know, and I hate that for her.
And the same can go for Keith. Like, I'm sure that connection is what was keeping him going in there as well. So if it's taken away, what does that mean for him as well? Like, it's just a terrible situation. Dumb.
Yeah, what Tyra said about how children change is so true. Just this summer, I sent my daughter away to be with my mom for a month. She was only gone a month. And when she came back, I was like, who are you? Like, you done grown, you speaking differently? Like, who taught you this? Like, it's the rate of development and change and the impression of their surroundings is so rapid at that age. And also my math ain't, I'm not a mathy. He got 10 years. Is it 10 years from when she was 5 or 10 years from when she's 8? So is it 15 or 18 that he gonna get out?
I think it's 15. I think so. Not that that's making it any better.
No. It's gonna be down bad regardless. But if it's 15, then I'm hoping, because like she'll still be in the house. You still got some time of her. Like, if he come home and we all in the same house, then I feel like that, earlier is always better. But I just feel like from a kid who made the decision not to deal with their parent, I just know that once you turn 18, because you can't make me do nothing. So just the fact that you can't make me, I'm not doing it. And so I worry about Aubrey. This was the point in this documentary. I had to rewind because I was doing something else. I was cooking while I was watching it, and then they jumped to Aubrey. I saw this little girl in the car not want to talk to her daddy. I'm like, who's this little girl? They don't want to talk to her daddy in this car. And I was like, surely not my precious Aubrey. There's no way. I was heartbroken.
D.
Yeah, so this for me was probably the most devastating part of the documentary, and it was such a sober way to end it, because it comes a point for I won't say every person, but I think there comes a point with that when it comes to that whole bridge into adolescence, and adulthood and all of that. I think there comes a point where something comes along to disrupt your sense of innocence and that sense of hope and that sense of idealism you have about the world. It kind of reminds me of, if anyone has seen Memoirs of a Geisha, there's a point where the older Sayuri says that the heart dies a slow death, shedding each hope like leaves until nothing, until there's nothing left and nothing remains. And I think I think what was so devastating is that it's like, no matter how much hope you have, the world, your circumstances, so many things can shift that. And then all of a sudden you don't get the chance to be that hopeful, idealistic child anymore. You kind of become something else. And you can't believe, you don't have that sense of, you can't see the world the same way anymore. And it also reminded me, for anyone who may or may not have seen Into the Woods, there's a song at the very end called Children Will Listen, because it's basically about fairy tales and the idea of happily ever after, and how a lot of those things are a fallacy, and what it comes down to, how children hear and see things. And the final song basically says that, be careful what you say, be careful what you do, because children will listen and they will see and learn from you how to be and how to approach the world. And they basically equate it to a spell, and like, be careful of the cast you spell. Be careful of the spell you cast. because your children will listen and they will become what you teach them to be. And I'm not saying this is what she'll become, but she's kind of been taught disappointment, and she's been taught, these things that go against what she was before. So yeah, for me, it hit hard. And I also relate to that in a sense, because, yeah, because it's just, you get to a point where it's just like, you can almost see what you used to be and how you used to understand the world. It's just like, that's just not life. And it's kind of preparing yourself for the disappointment of life, which I think in a lot of ways is sometimes the most painful thing of all.
Okay.
I think we need to look at depression in children a whole lot more. See, this is how I knew my child's not gonna survive it like that, because he be at work too long and her anxiety is through the roof. Like she can't even handle a day, and for that many years, that would crush her whole spirit. And I can see that's what's happened with Aubrey there. The first man that she found love in is not there for her. He's not there to celebrate her birthday. He's not there to take her to father-daughter dances. He's not there for honors night. He's not there for parent-teacher night. He's not there to take pictures on the first day of school like everybody else's parents and stuff. He's not there for the sporting events and all of that. And that was her person. And when you don't have that person who you put all your love and stuff in, and we already saw before that she internalized it as if it was something that she had control over.
Mm-hmm.
So she's internalizing all of this. This is impacting her own self-worth in this. This is a breeding ground for depression. And if nobody does anything about it, this is not going to be good for her when she hit them teen years. When that rush of hormones creep in, they're going to be watching out for her to be the next person on top of the roof if they don't get a handle on it right now.
Okay.
It's reality.
No, Aubrey, Maki Dada, Aubrey, you girl, you got a lot to give to this world. Don't you dare. Like, I hated to see Aubrey spark go out, but it's this some hard truths getting into the ending of this doc, and child getting into the ending of this live, because Alonzo. Closing thoughts for me after watching this, I was like, I would love to see this reflected onto some sons and see programs like this for boys, because we know a lot of learned behavior or systematic things, especially prison, is reflected onto boys in a very harsh way. So I would love to see sons, if that's possible, or if that's even a thing. I that's what I took away from this. I would love to see that. I'm probably gonna cry, but I want to see it. Don, what about you? What did you take away from this?
Like I said, like we talked about, this is, I think we talked about it before, like off screen, but this whole documentary, I think, was a good solution to recidivism. The idea that once you go in and you get out and you're so likely to go back, and then we don't really have too many effective ways to combat that. The idea that we have something that's 95% effective should at least be studied and replicated in some sense. And so obviously we want to stop people from going to prison in the first place. But I think different problems have different solutions. And so the idea of stopping people from going to prison is a problem that needs a solution. But the idea of people going back, if they are men and they have daughters, and we can implement something like, because this program can't be that expensive. I just refuse to believe it's that expensive. I just feel like it's something necessary that there's some advocacy groups and some voter turnout could put in effect on a larger scale. And then I want everybody to get some help. I want everybody to talk to somebody. And I want, like Tyra said, some version of this to be implicated on young boys. But also after this, I want some aftercare, basically. Yeah. Like after this, we need some follow-ups. We need to walk you through, like the documentary checked back in a year and 3 years later. But I need these discussions and these people to like check in with you and follow you through, so the support is consistent. Because we already know that if you have a parent that's incarcerated, you lacking on at least some necessary support. So that's all. But the documentary is very good. It's very necessary. And shoot, we need to show this in schools. We need to show this at some investment groups. Everybody needs to see this. Everybody needs to see it.
Okay.
A gratitude for me. Shout out to the Tony Pounds. I'm gonna give him an extra hug when I see him this weekend, because I could have been any one of those kids in this documentary. I could have easily been any one of those, because there was the 4 of us, and by the time I was 9, my older sister had a child. So there was not the 4 of us, but then also a baby anyway. And I don't know if my mom could have dealt with all of us by herself without him being there. And then not only him being there for us, but again, the grandchildren as well. And how easily it could have been, and what my life could have been, or how it could have turned out if I were one of those young ladies in this video. So a shout out to all the present fathers, and I hope that other men see this, and like, if they see that there is a deficit somewhere, where there is a little girl around them, their niece, their sister, their granddaughter, their stepdaughter, their goddaughter, step up and fill those shoes, because they need you there.
Ditto. Ashley?
Yeah, I just need everyone to watch it. And I think, because more than anything that it did, I think it could enable people to have more grace for people, and how people move in the world, and how you empathize and relate with people, because we've all met these little girls grown up, right? We've all met versions of them. Potentially we've been some of them at moments in our lives. And it all comes from some place. So I would hope that after watching this, we could be more open and more mindful and have more grace. Again, I wish the best for all of these babies. I want to see more like this, more programs. I agree, Tyra, for both boys and girls, because sons need their fathers too. And we don't talk about that a lot in Black and brown spaces, at least on TV that I've seen in terms of a documentary of this kind. So I want to see more of it. And I'm hoping that with the platform and all the people I know who watched it, now that it's on Netflix, that it begins more conversations like this. Thank you for hosting this, Tyra. Thank you for bringing it up, honey, because this was, y'all know I got a spreadsheet, and this was not on my radar initially. So thank you, Tyra.
D?
So first, definitely want to shout out Angela Patton, because her girl power is definitely bringing the community together and making an impact in the community. And I just thought that was such a beautiful thing. And even with her referencing, like she's like, I'm 48 and my father is 80, and how even, because even in a different situation, it could be something where it was just like, oh, my father wasn't there, and so this is why. And it was like, no, this is the impact of what my life has been at my, very, very grown age, where my father, even at 80, is there for me and showing up. And so I just thought that was just so beautiful, just the way she even brought this to the forefront. And one other thing I wanted to say, because I promise you, as soon as I saw this and this clicked off, I was like, okay, I think this might be my favorite film of the year. And I know it was only January, but I'm like, I don't know if there's another film that's going to hit me quite like this. And Sing Sing has gotten close, but still, Daughters just has hit in such a different way. And what I will say, I think initially I thought it was Gianna's mother, but I don't think so. I think it was someone else, because I feel like she was referencing someone who might have been in jail at that point when she was speaking. But one of the moms was basically came forward, and she was basically saying, like, I just wanted to reiterate that, with us as the moms, despite what we've been through, and, no matter the situation we're going through with the fathers and all that kind of stuff, ultimately we are hurting our children when we don't step out of the way. And when we don't allow, that connection, or we don't allow them to have that experience. And she also referenced the fact that just understand that some of these men are out here doing what they can for their children, whether it's behind bars, and some of them are doing their best to make it out of that situation and doing what they can in spite of all of these obstacles in the way. And so basically it was beautiful, because it was her and some of the other women recognizing some of the things they did to also contribute, but also what they were able to learn from it, and walking away from a sense of with a sense of clarity and a sense of healing and perspective. So I love that too.
Yeah, that sounds good. You should record it. You can't record stuff at Sundance, or is that against the policy?
Sometimes it depends on where we are.
I would have loved to have have seen that. But as usual, you guys have been amazing. The panel is always amazing. Let me play y'all a little love, and then we're gonna come back and let you know what we got coming up, and we're gonna get out of here. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be right back.
Black girl, if you 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 black girl, do your thing, do your thing, do your thing, do your thing. Black girl, if you black girl, if you black girl.
Never going back. No, you can't make me. Never going back, never going back. They never take me. I've been enough of petty dudes. I've been enough of petty news. I had a thing for dirty shoes since I was 10. Love dirty men alike. Ooh, better day than cash today. Ooh, I just take it day by day. Ooh, never hearing what they say. Ooh, I just do it my way. All I got is these broken cars. I ain't got no time, just burning daylight. Still love and still love and still love and still love, still.
All right, Dom, I am gonna come to you first. Let the people know to come on over there and watch your alien video.
Yeah, screen static. I got my look. Alien Romulus is, man, I'm telling you, I love this movie. I've already seen it twice. My review is up. Go check out my review of Alien Romulus. I got my review of Strange Darling, a new thriller that comes out this weekend. It's gonna come up tonight. And then this week coming up, we're gonna see The Crow this week, and we're going to go see Blink Twice, the movie Zoe Kravitz directed this week. So check out for that over at Screen Static.
Mm-hmm. You heard what the man said. D, I'm gonna come to you next.
Hey everyone, this is D Movie Man, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic, coming to you with reliable recaps, reviews, and reactions. At this point, you should know what time it is, but if you don't, that is basically the summation of what I do over on my channel. I love discussing all things film. I love diving into the occasional theatrical trailer. I also enjoy discussing the occasional television series, much like Lady in the Lake and Love is Blind, currently with some of these wonderful ladies you see here today. I also had the chance to go to NYC, and there I had the chance to navigate a very massive theater and see the AMC Screen Unseen film, which turned out to be Skincare, starring Elizabeth Banks. So please feel free to check that out. I definitely switched up the tempo with that review, something a little bit different as far as what you see within the review. So there's that. And then I also plan on doing something currently in the works to highlight the film Beetlejuice ahead of its release. I believe it's maybe next week or the week after that. But yeah, I'm going to dive into a little bit of interesting history as far as that film. So please stay tuned. Support D Movie Man at my official YouTube channel, and I would love to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much, D. Ashley.
Hey y'all already know what it is. Tomorrow night is a special night. Okay, Tyra is celebrating her birthday, and we're dressing up. So come over. That's the most important thing. Make sure y'all are subscribed to everybody, hit the notification bell. But that's the thing I want everyone to show up for tomorrow. 7:05, 7:15 Eastern Standard Time. Be there or be square.
That's it. That's all of it. Show up. Hurry up. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. I was about to say the same thing. Tomorrow, y'all need to come back here and be ready to laugh, be ready to have a good time. We're going to celebrate the Struggle Reviews Tyra tomorrow for her birthday, and you know we're going to show out, okay? We're going to be on this panel, cutting up, having some laughs, having a good old time, okay? Friday, Bel Air, Saturday, horror panel, and Sunday, a very, very, very special episode for the season finale of Lady in the Lake.
Okay. Anytime you say very, very special episode, I just think of that episode of Different Strokes with the bike man.
Not Different Strokes.
You know, them old school, very, very special episodes. That's the first thing that comes to my mind when they give you a little PSA in the beginning. This is a very, very special. Like, oh, what's about to happen?
Watch this with your children.
Y'all heard what they said. Please be sure to be back here tomorrow to celebrate with me. Like, celebrate what? My birthday. I am really, really excited. And we just gonna have a really good time. a real good time. And talk about a great film as well. You know, it's not just celebrating a birthday. We're gonna talk about Waiting to Exhale and Oh Baby, the layers of things we could talk about there with that one film. You do not want to miss that. And of course, be there for those KillerCon Saturdays and Lady in the Lake Sundays. We would love to see you there. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we will definitely see you tomorrow. Y'all have a good night.